So my name is Kroupová. I'm an art historian working at the University of Vienna, and I'm currently working on my PhD project where I look into the lived experiences and artistic production of art students, mainly from the Global South, who came to Czechoslovakia during the Cold War. Let me maybe start with a little research reference, because there was a small research project at the University of Vienna which looked into the backgrounds and motivations of people who go to galleries, who go to museums, and one of the main reasons was actually that you have been socialized to go to museums. So your parents or someone close to you went with you to museums, so you learned how to move in these spaces, what are the social rules, etc. So I think I myself could be a subject of this study, because my parents very early on went with me to museums, to galleries, so I never thought about them as something inaccessible, something that I would feel uncomfortable about. When I was in Prague, where I grew up, I never really thought about visual arts or having a career in the cultural sector. I really wanted to be a journalist, a sports journalist, and it came about when I was 16 years old. I moved on my own to Austria, to Horn, to a very small city. So you would think there's no cultural offerings, there's nothing whatsoever. But we had this really great teacher in art education. I would really like to mention her because I still feel like she's really responsible for this initial spark in visual arts, Gabriele Epp, and she was an artist herself. And I think through her classes, I really understood what is art, what is visual culture, how does art function, how does it communicate. She really treated us as equals, not as little children, which, to be honest, we really were at the time, so I wouldn't be mad at her. But she was really respectful and, helping us to create the creativity. So I think that was the most important moment for me to actually choose the studies at the university. When I was 16, I went to a school in Prague, and it was quite normal that we would go abroad to learn a language. And my second language was German, but I was really bad at it, I have to be honest. And then I thought, should I go to Germany? Should I go to Austria? And there, my parents played a role. They were like, there's this common history, Austria and Hungary. The mentality is similar, and it's somehow closer. So I looked into schools that are in the border lands, in the lower Austria region, wrote them, went there. It was planned actually just to stay there for a year, but I just really enjoyed it. I really liked it, so I decided to stay there, graduate, and then pursue my university studies in Vienna. I did an Erasmus in Prague, so during my master's I wrote a thesis on this Manes Association, and to do it I really wanted to also go to the archives in Prague. So I did an Erasmus studies in Prague for a year, and it was always very important to me to have it also in my research and to have this connection to my homeland somehow. Nowadays, we know that culture and visual art do not develop in those rigid national borders. So art and culture is not encapsulated within the national borders. And the arts really develop through very complex circulation of people, of ideas, of artists, of artworks. And these are on a global scale, and this global spatial room is ingrained with some power structures, some power dynamics, which of course influence the developments. So I always wanted to somehow like move beyond these rigid national borders, maybe also because I lived in different cities, in Vienna, Prague mostly, but also in New York for a few months. So I really wanted to get rid of it somehow, to move past it, because also this dominant narrative is really centering on a Western-centric idea of progression of art. It is very linear, but as I said, that is not how art is developing. And in this dominant narrative, our region, even the Central Eastern European region, is seen as the other Europe, something that is even like downgraded to mere appendix of the Western development. So I think for everyone who is interested in our region, who comes from this region, I think it's important to think about other frameworks of art. You know, Czechia, I think about the Austrian imperial rule, the nation building, the Soviet domination, and these are all very global perspectives, and that is why I think we should really think about it from the global perspective also. So I look at the art students from the Global South who came to the Academy of Fine Arts after 1968, so after this rather stricter Soviet domination in our region. And despite these political restrictions, the state still welcomed a lot of students from Africa, Latin America, from Asia, and it created quite a diverse environment actually in these official cultural institutions. So I think the main and leading question that is driving my research is what happens when we shift the narrative and we look at how our region connects to other parts of the world, not only the Western center or our neighboring countries. So I would really want to place Czechoslovakia in the more global network. And also the realization when I started reading on the socialist period and culture in Czechoslovakia was this moving along very rigid boundaries of official versus non-official, Western versus Eastern, state control versus abstract liberal art. And don't get me wrong, I know it's important, especially after the democratic transition, to look into the subversive techniques, into how artists were, maybe contributing to the democratic change. But it still struck me how little these official structures are studied. And I think if we want to understand our own cultural heritage, we really have to look at it in its completeness. And the last thing, also very central, is that I want to really put forth the experiences of the people. So not writing knowledge or gaining knowledge about people, but with the people. So I want to talk to the people who actually came to Czechoslovakia, to ask them about their life trajectories, experiences, and to understand how it was for them before it's actually too late. I love the question because there's a really strong connection that even I wasn't really aware of. Before going to Senegal for a conference that my chair at the University of Vienna organized, I looked into some connections where there are some art students, maybe some film students. I didn't really find a lot. And then I came there, and everyone in Senegal, in Dakar, in Saint Louis, they wear this hat that we know in Czechia as a zmijovka, the head with the zigzag form. I think it was traditional in our region for like butchers. And when I went there, everyone had this zmijovka, and I was like, how is this possible? How did it come to Senegal? And it's being seen as part of really the national heritage. And then I learned about the story that the anti-colonial leader Cabral, who went to Czechoslovakia because of the political connections, of course, he went to Czechoslovakia, he saw the head, he really liked it, and he was photographed with it, and went to Senegal, to other countries. And people just, they started to like it. And in the beginning, it was more of a political symbol, but now it's just spread. The political symbol it's not as important anymore. I think now it's actually connected to some Muslim groups. So I think it's really interesting to think about circulation of materials again. Like, what does it mean in Czechia? How did it come to Senegal? Through what channels? And how is the meaning different? I think it's important to leave your own culture to be able to look at it from the outside somehow, to understand how it is perceived in another culture. Who writes the narratives and how do they write it? How is your culture maybe misunderstood or maybe not perceived at all? So I think that was something when I came to Vienna, that was something really common to think about. And in New York, I think everyone that's been to New York knows the diversity, the buzz there, the culture there is really active. And being in MoMA, I think what also like enriched me in a way is when we think about the collection and we have the collection and we think about how to exhibit it. We do not just think about what we have in the collection, but also what we do not have and why we do not have this. So always actually asking about the missing piece. And now in Vienna, I'm really happy to be in a space where it's a part of a transdisciplinary center. So we do not stick only to art history. We look into anthropology, social sciences, political sciences for inspiration. And the world's complex. It's getting more and more complex. It's actually always been complex, even though some politicians would want us to think that it's been otherwise. So I think the research has to reflect on that. And being able to be in everyday touch with people from Africa. We have colleagues from Cameroon, from Senegal, from Thailand. That's been really enriching to always, see some completely other perspectives, to just think out of the box, I would say. I see myself with a PhD degree in my hands. Hopefully having even some more international experiences. I would like to get to know some other perspectives still, to travel to these places, to Asia, to Africa, to Latin America more, and to talk to the people. I still see myself in research, either at a university or a cultural institution. Working with objects, it's a passion for me. Well, it might be an unconventional thing to say for an academic, I think, but for me it was always, during the studies, to not just focus on the theoretical path, but also, gaining practical experiences, going to the institutions, getting some internships, look into international programs. The galleries, the museums abroad, they have internship opportunities. Apply for them. Look into these possibilities, because I think if you want to be a researcher or scholar, I think it makes your work also more rigorous if you understand how the institutions actually work, when you saw it yourself and not just the theoretical framework. So I think the connection between practical experiences and the theoretical frameworks are major, and also I think something that academia is looking for more and more.